It is the festive season, so happy holidays to all of you. And I guess some of you might take the opportunity to bust out their precious metal watches, maybe some yellow gold even. I'm not the type for yellow gold yet, but I would like to take the opportunity to talk about a little bit more of a flashy piece and one of my favorite watch materials, which I urge you to consider for your collection if you haven't done so yet: bronze. So let's dive right in, and if you have some time on your hands, we can talk about this Anonimo Firenze Dino-Sei Argonauta GMT watch. And at the end of this video, I'll share with you my personal wish list for other amazing bronze watches. My name is Jan, and you're watching the Time Channel. I already talked about how Anonimo Firenze arose as a brand spearheaded by the former CEO of Panerai, Dino-Sei, in my other video about the San Marco watch. So you probably already know why the Dino-Sei line is special within the Anonimo Firenze brand. But today I want to focus on what makes this watch right here so special to me. It was my first bronze piece, and boy did it start a new branch of passion in my watch collecting. But let's not hesitate any longer and take a look at this beautiful piece. There are a few misconceptions about bronze, or at least some aspects that always pop up in videos or forum discussions about the material that I want to address, since I think that more people might choose a bronze watch if all of these aspects would be clear. So I would like to try to do just that. So the shiny product photos of bronze watches do not really represent what your watch will look like most of the time on your wrist. Bronze forms an oxidized layer when exposed to the atmosphere, and even quicker when you add in a little bit of sweat. But fear not, I personally love this material just because of that fact. I don't own yellow gold watches, which I already told you. It is way too flashy for me, and the same would go for bronze watches if you would look at them in their unoxidized or initial phase or stage. So the product photos do not really represent what your patina will look like. It is your own personalized look of the watch with spots and an overall unique pattern. But it develops a very, very warm color, which I really, really like. And I think this is so much more pleasing than the initial look of any bronze watch. Aluminium bronze, which is the preferred alloy used in the marine sector and also for most dive watches like this one, is highly corrosion resistant and resistant to wear and impact. That's why, aside from the patina on this watch, no real scratches can be found on my piece right here that is in my possession now for 4 years, and it is in total 7 years old. It is a heavy material though, but I think that just ties nicely into the theme of this watch, which has a resemblance of an old-timey diver's helmet, as it is also shown on the logo here. Some people report allergic reactions to bronze, which can be mainly explained by the content of copper, nickel, or tin within the alloy. Some also report green discolorations of their skin when in contact with bronze, which might be, again, forced by sulfate-rich environments, as it can be found in sweat. That might deter some to try out this material, but in general, most bronze watches have a stainless steel case back, which limits the exposure of the skin with the material directly and reduces this risk. So in my opinion, and I can show you on this watch, which hasn't been polished for roughly about 5 years now, it never had any problems of green discoloration. And I also wore this watch with white shirts that would immediately have shown this aspect. But I can understand one's hesitation, because you usually have to pay some sort of premium for the bronze watch versions of the otherwise stainless steel lines, and the initial hurdle to try it out are thus very high. But if you have the possibility to try one out, do so. It's like a bronze rabbit hole and makes nearly any watch design a bit more exciting for you afterwards. And you have to mention that this oxidation of the bronze or the patina can actually be reset. So if you don't like how your patina turned out, or if it just turned too dark for you, you can polish it and revert the whole process to make it look like that shiny bronze from the initial stage. And you can just start with your patina or aging process again. Let's talk a little bit about the case. It is roughly 44 millimeters in diameter. It is a little bit difficult to measure on this one because it is very angular in design. It is 14 millimeters in height, and it has a whopping lug-to-lug distance of 53 millimeters. I already told you that it is quite a heavy watch. I weighed it myself. It is 144 grams. But I also have some stainless steel watches that are even heavier than that. So it is not that easy to just say, since it is a bronze watch, that it must be heavier than a stainless steel one. Additionally, you have a nicely guarded main crown, which has a bayonet locking mechanism. You have a sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating on both sides, and you have 5 very prominent torque screws on the top of the case, which dictate the look of this watch quite heavily, I think. But in contrast to the San Marco with the monoblock case, you don't have to unscrew these 5 ones on top of the case to actually access the movement, because this one has a screw down case back as well, so you can just normally access your movement from the back here, which might make my watchmaker quite happy when he has to service this. I'll bring the watch a little bit closer to talk about the watch face. It has a nice shade of blue on it with well, light blue or turquoise main, hour, and minute hand, and a white seconds hand with a red tip. Going around the dial, you have your date window at 3 o'clock and your Dino Zay Argonauta logo with the diver's helmet at 9 o'clock. And additionally, the markers have a combination of red and also the same light blue as the hour or minutes hand. And all of those light blue areas and markers have quite a bit of lume on them as well. What I think is most striking about this watch, and from afar it looks like kind of a sunray pattern in the middle of the watch, and if you look closely, it is your GMT function, which is not represented by a GMT hand as you're most probably accustomed to, but it is represented by a disc. And on that disc you have 24 different major world cities denoted on them, and around it is a 24-hour scale. So you just set your own local time to the major city that is denoted on here, and you can read off all the other time zones with the other world cities here. I would like to talk about the cowskin leather strap, which is connected to the case with these very decorative but also large stainless steel screws, which would make it quite easy to exchange the strap as well. But I just love how the combination of this tan leather strap together with the bronze material works. And it is again a Kodiak treated leather strap, the same as with the San Marco, which means they use a special process to make this leather strap resistant to salt water. And it is a thick strap, but it wears quite nicely and comfortably on this watch. It has the Dino Zay embossing here on the inside. So the leather strap ends in a stainless steel pin buckle. So stainless steel for the pin buckle and the main crown. Basically everything you touch regularly is in stainless steel, and it is also engraved with the diver's helmet and the Dino Zay logo. So let's talk a little bit about the case bag, which is nicely decorated. You have your asymmetrical layout of the torque screws back here. You have your basic information, of course, about this model and the reference number. It is made in Italy, of course. And you have your composition of the bronze material denoted down here exactly. It is a limited edition, so this is number 50 of 249 made. And it is 20 atmospheres water resistant, which roughly translates to 200 meters. What I really like about this case bag is the engraving of the diver's helmet on it, and exactly smack in the middle of that helmet you have a nice display window. And if I move the rotor away, you can actually see the balance wheel ticking away through this window. This is an ETA 2893 base caliber. It has a 40-hour power reserve and sits on 21 joules. And the frequency is quite high at 28,800 beats per hour. So if we want to talk about the price of this watch, we need to acknowledge that this is difficult to find, especially if you're looking exactly, for example, for this blue dial version of the watch. But if you find some of those, they're usually somewhere in between the range of 4,000 to 6,000 euros. Mine was a little bit closer to the lower end because if you've noticed, I only have the original box but not the papers for this watch. So I think this is a stunner of a watch, and it immediately sparked another branch of my watch collecting passion, bronze watches. And to finish this video, I would like to give you a taste of what's out there that ticks my boxes considering bronze watches. 3 watches on my wish list with 3 very different price ranges. The first entry into this top 3 is the Steinhart Ocean One Bronze, and it is also the least expensive one on this list, coming in at 470 euros for a new one. Maybe it's a controversial first entry for some of you, since Steinhart is a topic of its own. They provide homage watches mostly that are too close to the originals for my comfort sometimes. But this one is a bit different. It does borrow off the Submariner in some of its style elements, but it still offers enough unique selling points that make it impossible to be mistaken for a Submariner. For example, the bronze case. And the combination of green and bronze and the canvas strap make it very appealing to me. So the second one on the list, and as a reminder, I just ordered them by increasing price point. The second one is the Tudor Black Bay Bronze. It is the 43mm version, which is based on the older Black Bay, not the Black Bay 58 if you have that in mind. It has the MT5601 in-house caliber with the 70-hour power reserve, which I think is very, very nice. And they are available in 3 versions, a red one, a blue one, which is the Bucherer edition, and also a gray one. And the last entry on my list is the IWC Aquatimer Charles Darwin Bronze Edition. A very sleek looking bronze watch, since I think the black and bronze just mixes amazingly. But it is 44mm in diameter, so it is not, a dressy watch. And it is at a price point somewhere beyond 7,500 euros. Well, one can still dream. These are just my top 3 bronze watches that I'm looking at currently or dream about. But there are other very interesting ones like the Montblanc Geosphere or the Oris Pointer Dates in their various dial colors, or the Oris Carl Brashear Diver 65, and of course also the Panerai submersibles that I really, really like, but the latter are just too expensive for me right now. I could keep going on and on about bronze watches, but I think right now we'll leave it at that, and I hope you enjoyed it. My name is Jan, and you're watching the Time Channel.